Sweet Jesus, I'm done for. Isn't that the first thing you say when you find anything remotely resembling a lump or a bump? But a vast amount of lumps are benign, or just an over-enthusiastic pimple. That's what happened to me. Just mine had a fancier title. Ductectasia, the consultant said, drawing a caricature of my right breast. Oh, ductfantasia, said I. No, ductectasia, he repeated. It's inflammation of the milk ducts. Sure, I had long forgotten about milk ducts, and they were still causing me trouble. There's nothing to worry about, just keep an eye, and if you're worried, come back to us. He smiled. I smiled. The nurses smiled. The receptionist on the way out smiled. I smiled back. I'm still smiling. You know, that day there was a lot of women that left that consultant's room smiling. I know it's a bit scary, but you just have to go through the tests. Sure, it's more embarrassing than anything else. But what I'm saying is, don't put off going to your doctor. The sooner you go, the better your chances. God forbid, even if there was something nasty there. And remember, cancer's not choosy. It can affect anyone.
They handed me the paper gown slit from my neck to my knees. I couldn't hide. There was no escape. In that moment, I became a woman again. I wasn't different. I wasn't Sister Mary Clare. I was Sally Egan. I could feel my breast through the gown, soft and cold as I lay on my back. My breast sad, waiting. I had liked my breasts when they first appeared. They were going places. I was going places. I wasn't cheating when I would stuff socks into my bra. I was only giving them a hand until they were all grown up. But I had a calling. Sally's different, they said. She's not like the rest of us. You don't need breasts to be a nun, so I threw them away. I had to go. Jesus was calling. I stepped away and left Sally behind with the bra and the socks. Why didn't I bring my breasts? I could have said, "Here I am, Jesus. I've come with my breasts. Do you still want me?" Now in this sterile room, my breasts are back, all grown up and awaiting their fate. I dreamt last night I was kneeling at the altar. Father Lucas had a chalice, and inside were my breasts, small and white. I reached in to take them, but he said, "They're for God." I woke with such a fright, clutching my breasts. The silence which I usually treasure seemed unbearable, and I wanted to run screaming down the corridor, banging on doors until anyone came out and said, "It's all right. It's going to be okay." I tormented myself wondering what the tumour looks like. Is it black? Is it hard? I couldn't eat. I was losing weight and Reverend Mother said I had to go for a checkup. I'm blessed. I won't have to go home to a husband with only one breast. I won't have to have reconstructive surgery. nuns don't need breasts. Jesus won't mind. Sister Mary Clare won't mind. As I was leaving for the hospital this morning, I turned and looked back at the building that had been my home for over 50 years and saw the faces of my sisters pressed up tight against the windows. Sister Frances came running after me. She had a bottle of holy water and she made the sign of the cross on my breasts. It was the first time in over 50 years that anyone had lovingly placed their hands on my breasts. I could hardly breathe. I wish I could run home to my mother's house, put my feet under her table and eat her wonderful food. I would tell her everything. And one by one, her pearls of wisdom would smooth everything over and my world would become safe and still again. But it's years since I was home. And the last time my mother, well, she didn't recognise me. She didn't recognise anyone. When I was a teenager, I used to stand in front of my mirror staring at my breasts, fantasising what it would be like if a man was to put his hands on them. Now at last I'm finding out. The only thing is, it wasn't supposed to happen quite like this. I wonder what the doctor expects a nun's breast to look like. What do I expect a nun's breast to look like? I haven't looked in a very long time, not even when I wash. They're a non-entity. When all this is over, how can I return to the convent and allow Sally Egan to leave her breast behind? I have found them again, or rather, they have found me. Are you listening, Jesus? It's me, Sally. I've come with my breasts. Do you still want me?
I said to myself, Myra, you might as well get it over with, seeing as how you won't be appearing on the Late Late Show anytime soon. So, on my way home, after the hospital confirmed me worst fears, I got the 47 bus at Phelan's Pharmacy and bought myself a packet of disposable razors and a tube of shaving foam. I didn't even put the kettle on, in case it changed my mind. I just shed a little tear as my golden locks fell softly to the floor. The plumber called and said, wasn't I lucky to be indoors on a pissing day like this? The kids next door were still hopping ball, and me lovely green grass was waiting to be cut. I sat long and still as the night drew around me, listening to the rhythm of me heart beating strong and comforting in me breast. I felt like storming heaven's gates, but instead I made a meal and washed up the plates. Now, I couldn't exactly see myself as a Sinead O'Connor lookalike, so down I went early next morning to Wigs R Us. Didn't take me too long to realise I could never afford anything in that shop. I wasn't to be stumped though. On my way home I passed a charity shop. And would you believe what was in the window? A lovely golden wig. The spit of my own colour. I charged in and grabbed at the mannequin. How much? Sorry, it's for display purposes only, says the one. I turned to go, feeling all right, Ija. Would €10 be okay? She says, coming after me. €10, says I, delighted. Sorry, is that a bit much then? $8.50 be okay? I couldn't wait to get home. Now, to tell you the truth, it was a bit in the tight side. And no matter how hard I tried to pull it down, it just kept popping up again, like it had a life all of its own, and all the time slowly levitating towards the top of me head, where it finally just sat there, like a cap. I didn't care. I had lovely golden curls on the top of me head again, and all for €8.50. Jesus, you wouldn't believe it wasn't real hair. It was the spit of my own colour. I was sitting watching the celebrity come dancing when I thought I heard a growl from Bertie, me Jack Russell. I ignored it. But then I heard it again. Only this time there was no mistaking. It was coming from Bertie for defo. I knew he'd been throwing me the funny eye all evening, but I just thought it was his stomach playing up again. It's all right, Bertie, I said. It's only me, Myra. That only made him worse. His hackles started to rise as he raised himself up to his full 10 inches, and his eyes started to rotate and came to rest on me lovely golden wig. It's all right, Bertie, I said, trying to stay as calm and in control as possible. The little fecker was getting ready to have a go at my head. I'm going to be savaged, and all because of mistaken identity. Very slowly, I raised my hands up and whipped off me wig and threw it across the room where it bashed to the wall. I was sure he was going to jump on it and rip it to bits. Instead, he let out this almighty, all-merciful screech and dived in behind the sofa, whimpering. Well, you little bastard, I said. After all your bravado, you were never going to attack it. And now, fuck it. Me lovely new hair's ruined. Nowadays, I do have to wait till I get myself outside the hall door before I dare put me wig on, as Bertie kicks up such a racket. I've tried everything to get him used to it. I do let him have a little sniff, then I give him treats. But no, Bertie won't change his mind. He hates it with a vengeance. Even if I hide it, the little shagger sniffs it out and screeches at it till he's hoarse. I do often think if he'd just go in for the kill, just to get it out of his system. But no. Anyway, to tell you the truth, I've gone right off it. And anyways, the doctor says it'll be no time at all till my hair grows back. And in the meantime, maybe the Sinead look won't be that bad. Although it's damn cold, been so cool.
I could sense her watching me, knowing. Some days I couldn't bring myself to even look at her. How could I be that way with a woman that I've loved for almost 30 years? The woman that I couldn't wait to marry because I couldn't bear to leave her out of my sight. How could I have had those god-awful fights with her over stupid stuff, huh? What a jerk. I met her when I was 14, and it was like we were always together, If she was happy, I was happy. If she was upset, I was upset. It was like we were an extension of each other. If she had cancer, I had cancer. I went through cancer, went through pain, her pain, bled, cried like a baby, big choking sobs. Found myself lying on the floor, exhausted. Breathe. Breathe. And then I get up, dust myself down, force a smile, and face the day. I'd fantasise about running away. I'd Google getaway hotels in far-flung places, planning me escape, and telling myself, just do it, just do it, do it! Let someone else look after her. But then, just for the briefest moment, behind the haunted face, behind the forced smile, she'd stick out her chin, and I'd see the ghost of the woman, the girl I once knew and loved. 7 years ago, 7 years when Anna was diagnosed, I sobbed almost daily. I prayed. Jesus, how I prayed. Knock water, Lourdes water, even water people blessed themselves, all poured over Anna, hoping for that miracle. I screamed at God. I cursed him. I begged him. And then slowly, almost like I didn't notice, I changed. I found I had changed. I made lists. I became knowledgeable about making decisions regarding medical matters. Tried to focus on the good times, her smile, her awful jokes, or like the first day I saw her strutting down the factory floor in her purple high heels, full of herself, so she was. But that's what I loved about her, confidence like. And that strut said, whatever was wrong in the world, Anna was going to fix it. I hated this cold, capable man I had become. I stopped crying. Instead, I carried this big lump around inside me, and I was afraid that if this lump in my chest broke, it would creep up to my throat and suffocate me. But that was okay, it was. It was better than sobbing like a baby. And if I screamed now, the screams were silent. I became detached. From outside my body, I watched as this man went about his daily life, doing all he should to help the woman he loved. And best of all, this new man, this displaced man, didn't have to pretend to want to make love to her anymore. I said we when people asked about Anna. I had no right. But for 7 years I lived and breathed cancer. I had cancer. I've kept most of her clothes, but I burnt mine. At least the ones I used to wear to visit her in the hospital. My coat, shirt, tie, shoes. I felt I didn't want to be bringing home the pain. I burnt the shoes first, because I'd see them every day, climbing the stairs, one foot in front of the other, climbing, just keep climbing. I'd find myself rushing home, rushing back to where she was, me heart bursting. And then relief to find she wasn't there. The house was empty and silent. I feel guilty like I didn't have to listen to her pain. I could leave the pain behind in the hospital. I could feed the cat, water the garden, or pretend she was out of the shops and everything was still okay. When she went, people would say to me, she's at peace now, or she's not in any more pain. But I didn't feel relief or happy. Nothing anyone said could comfort me. How do I take back that man I was? Have I the right? Sometimes I see him in the distance. And I reach out, and when I just go to grab him, he slips away. Oh, sometimes it feels like I knew no other life before Anna. When I broke, Anna would fix me together again. Now I wonder, how come I miss all that grief and pain? Why can't I be glad she's gone? Why the hell can't I let her go?
Hey lads, don't forget the 2 B's when you're doing your body check. Balls and breasts. Yeah, I did. I said breasts. When my nipple began to feel a bit sore and kind of turning a bit, sure, I thought nothing of it. You wouldn't, I'm a bloke, right? Wrong. It was breast cancer. Did you mean to say cancer of the chest? I asked the doctor. No, sissy. It's in your breast tissue. You have breast cancer. My first thought was, fuck. How am I going to tell the lads? Hey, great gig, lads, but I have breast cancer. Men don't get breast cancer, or so I thought. I mean, I had to go for a mammogram. Major embarrassment. It's rare enough, like, only about 16 men in Ireland get it each year. Most of them are in their 60s. I tell them I had it me back. Yeah, me back, that was the safest. Whereabouts in your back do you have it, Eddie asked. I just couldn't bring myself to say breast. But hey, cancer's cancer. But then I thought, look, what if one of them gets it, or worse still, dismisses a lump and then it's too late? No, I had to tell them we're all in our 60s. I was expecting like a bit of a laugh, or like they'd see me as less of a man, but as the reassuring slaps came on my back, I knew they were very proud of me for speaking up. I mean, it's been rough, I can't deny that. But with the great doctors that we have, I can now say that I had breast cancer.
I'm after putting a dozen shepherd's pies, 18 pizzas, 10 packs of oven-ready chips and 6 stuffed chickens, all into the freezer. That should get them over the first few days. I can't believe it. Me, Maggie May, as Eddie does call me. I'm not a bit domesticated. Honest to God now, if it wasn't for Eddie, we'd all starve. But that's why I wanted to freeze the food for him. It's like a legacy. I got the idea after reading about this woman from England. And when she found out she didn't have long left, she went and she cooked something like a year's supply of dinners. Now, I wouldn't go that far, but I thought it was a really nice thing to do. For your family. I know what Eddie'll say. Jesus took cancer to get her off her arse. I used to say that if I ever had a life-threatening illness, I'd go mad shopping, put everything on the credit card. I'd go into Pennies and I'd grab everything. I'd buy the really good makeup, the bright pink lipstick, the false eyelashes. I'd book in for a facial and an Indian head massage. And what have I been doing? Sticking me hand up chickens' arses. I miss the boobs I used to have. I couldn't get used to the implant. Was too big. Stuck out all smug and smarmy looking. I used to walk sideways hoping nobody'd notice. And the poor other one just got more and more depressed. Then I had to get this one done to match up with this one. And when Eddie says he loved the new ones, I went into a right huff. So what? You didn't like the old ones, I says to him. After that, he's afraid to open his mouth. He was afraid to touch me. I miss the old ones. I miss the old me. Do you know what I miss most, though, since I got sick? Just hanging out with Eddie, me and the kids on a Friday night. I'd help the kids with the homework. Maybe I won't miss that. And then we'd all get into the jammies. And Eddie'd go out and buy a few large bottles, bucket of popcorn for the kids. And then the kids would fall asleep and Eddie'd carry them up the stairs. Me roaring at them to mind their feckin' heads. But I've reclaimed all that back. And right now, right this very minute, I'm a very happy woman. Regrets? I could say I should have spent more romantic time with Eddie, because he's a good one. I used to see the girls rushing out after work on a Friday to buy the romantic meal for two. Me? I'd grab a belly full of chips and a bag of onion rings. Then we'd light the fire. Fight over the remote controls. I told Eddie, I want a really big funeral. I don't care what the parish priest says. I want my favourite song, Maggie May, blasted loud and long all over St. Augustus Church. That'll shake the whole bloody lot of them up. Yeah, you're probably thinking, God, she is so saintly, making her own funeral arrangements and stuffing chickens. But I went fucking screaming mad when I first found out. I told the doctor he was a lying little prick to be saying all that shite about me. Honest to God, it felt like somebody had just vomited up all over me. I told him I wanted to see the head guy. He says he was the head guy. That was 3 years ago. They said it was a very aggressive class of a cancer. Good, says I. I'm a very aggressive class of a bitch myself. The consultant and his team, they're not happy with my decision. Live with it, I said. Live with it, because that is what I am doing. I'm living with it. Eddie, he said he would hate to be in the cancer shoes. It's linked off for a while, but you know, it's back now, and this time, there's no more weapons of mass destruction. So I decided that I'm going to spend whatever time I have left just hanging out with Eddie and the kids, and I feel wonderful, liberated. I've even been real nice to the mother-in-law. She nearly died. I invited her over for dinner and I offered her a avocado and seeded tomato canopy. Yeah, I'm like a domestic goddess. My sister Lael now, she's going to help Eddie look after Wayne and Shane. Now they're good kids, most of the time. And she's not married, Lael, you know. Here, wouldn't it be great now? Oh, Jesus, no, fuck that. I'm not that bleeding good. Do you know, and anyway, I intend to keep going for as long as I can. You never know. Those scientist fellas, they're always up to something. Eddie came home from work the other day, and his eyes were all wild, and he flung himself down on one knee, produces a little red box, and he splutters, "Will you marry me, babes? Will you get up off the floor?" I says to him. "Bleed need you. Like, talk about timing. We always said we didn't need a piece of paper to tell us that we were married." Don't go belly up at me now, Eddie, Giles says to him. I'll have to stop all this carry on. Do you know what else I got him doing? He had out Wayne's copybook and he's writing me a poem. Like, God love him. He must think he's your man, Seamus Healy or whatever. And I wouldn't mind. He knows I do fucking hate poems. Do you know? The fight hasn't gone out of me yet. If anything, I'm stronger. I've taken back my power. I'll go. But it'll be on my terms. And I am very, very proud of myself. Do you know, it's funny. The little things that go through your mind at a time like this. Like, I've never had champagne. I've had the shite stuff all right, but never the real McCoy. So the other day, after I dropped Wayne and Shane off to school, I went into O'Brien's and I bought a bottle. The fucking price of it. Your man behind the counter, he says to me, was I sure I wanted a purchase? Yeah, says I, I'm sure I want a purchase. I was just thinking whether I'd use cash. I mean, gold, Visa. Club shy. Anyway, when I got home, I couldn't open the fucking thing. I didn't have a corkscrew. Imagine. In my whole life, I never owned a corkscrew. I told Eddie that after, just to get pissed, light a big bonfire out the back garden and get the kids and just dance to forget, dance to remember.
Every day I place these hands on my patients, and when I find something that should not be there, my heart begins to race, my throat becomes dry, my palms sweat. All the classic signs of anxiety. I should know, I'm a doctor, right? I can't look my patients in the eye. Those eyes that are so hopeful, so trusting, and then to see the pain when I have to give them the bad news. The words that come out of my mouth are worse than any obscenity you could ever say to another human being. Yet, almost every day, I regurgitate a torrent of bloody words that devastates lives. Then I go home, pat my dog, play with my children, make love to my wife. Today I thought I had it all under control. I was ready with my usual spiel. Then I lost it completely when my patient told me she didn't care. They're not supposed to say that. I had nothing rehearsed for that. I made a right cock up and I rushed out. Christ, I'll have to get a grip. My colleagues tell me I am getting better. I guess I am compared to my student days when I almost gave it all up. I was sure I'd chosen the wrong career. I just couldn't get my patients' faces out of my mind. The newsreader on TV was chart number 273, and the postman, well, he looked like a guy that had stitched up in A&E earlier that day. That was level 1. I hoped I was at level 2, but after today's fiasco, how do I switch off? Do I want to switch off? Do I want to aspire to the next level? The consultant? Where I'll sit at my desk in my Louis Copeland suit. My team will hand me the file on patient 220. I'll be calm, devoid of emotion. I'll be capable of looking them straight in the eye and discussing their case with integrity and professionalism. I'll be over all the sentimental shit at that stage. Otherwise, I just won't survive. Perhaps I'm not ready to move on to level 2. Earlier today, I overheard one of my patients describe me as Dr. Feelgood. Dr. Feelgood? Not right now.
Derby, our postie, only tore me hall door down last Monday morning. Merciful arse, where's the fire? In one hand, he had this massive big fancy parcel, and in the other an official looking envelope. I went scarlet. Where's number 54, says he, whipping away the parcel and shoving the envelope at me. It was a letter from the breast clinic. I eyeballed it all night till I could muster up the courage to reef it open. It said I had a small hard lump in the upper outer, or was it the outer upper quadrant of me right breast, and a slight concern regarding the left one. I'm after having a triple assessment. I wasn't going to bother going for the mammogram in the first place. Sure, wouldn't I know if there was as much as a pimple on me, did he? You're 69, Rita, me sister said. It'll be the last free mammogram you'll be getting. Now, Dr. Feelgood has spent the last 15 minutes talking at me about biopsies, ultrasounds, and reconstructive surgery. Sometimes he talks to me right here, which is a lot better than the ceiling, so I felt we were making progress. Do you want the truth, doctor? I don't care what you do. The look on his face was only priceless. Although, doctor, I said, if the outcome is bad and I wake up -1, I wouldn't like to find an imposter in its place. I've had me day with imposters. Mrs. Rooney, says he, back to the ceiling. Rita was trying to be all friendly like. Don't worry about your reaction to all of this. Everyone takes the news differently. If need be, we have counsellors. Leaflets that will help and advise you. I'm not worried, doctor, I said. Old age is overrated and expensive. He thought I'd lost it. Especially when I said, Asher, well, you've the knife in your hand, you might as well take the other one off as well, just in case. Saved me coming back. He muttered something about having to see another patient and ran out of the room. Some of the ones in here really take the piss. Like Geraldine, the staff nurse. She pounced on me, poor left idiot, like she was wringing a chicken's neck. She twiddled the nipple left, then right. A little further left, she'd have got lyric FM. They never knew such action. Couldn't hurt to warm your hands first, missus. Flinging filthy looks at me, she turned on her heel. Oh, but not before whipping out her lip gloss, which bulges out of her hip pocket. A miserable wagon. I do care that I might have the other, you know. But having one or both of these off wouldn't bother me. Sure, what use are they to me? I've no use for them at all. Somebody was always looking for a piece of them. The guilt trip flung at me because I couldn't feed babies from them. They were trussed up and shut away all their lives. I used to sit on Dollymount Strand hiding behind a big towel. Oh, I'd envy the women who'd go charging into the sea, breasts flying over their shoulders. I used to pray. Oh, sweet God of breasts, would it upset your great plan if you were to send me too? I really believed there was a God of breasts. Sure, if there's a God of the sea and a God of fire, why not a God of breasts? My friends must have gone through 100 bras before mine finally yawned and gave a little sprout. Was that it? 2 scalded poached eggs appeared. Me mother offered me our pearls of wisdom, said all the women in our family were flat-chested, so there was no point in holding out any hope of ever having any, so there was no point in praying to anybody in the first place. To her credit, she announced the other day that we were going into Bulgers for a training bra. I said, what am I training for? Don't start your sarcasms with me, young lady. I'm not, Mabel. What is a training bra? All the best people have their teenagers in them. It offers both encouragement and support. Ma, I have nothing to support. You have your back, she said. Now, my Roddy was more of a leg man. Mind you, that was forced on him once he saw me naked the first time. 20 years since I've laid eyes on him. He used to love me, now and then. In the early days of our relationship, the sexual chemistry was rampant between us, blazing. Rita and Roddy. Rod Rita. Then we became more Rog and Podge. When did the passion go? When did the candle go out, huh? The look on his face when he saw me naked? Who knows? It stopped. But I miss his voice. Sure, I can always take out the old photos and shed an old tear, but it's his voice I miss most. That lovely, raspy voice. We first met in Barton's. He had this charisma, this air of danger about him. I was right about the danger. I found out later he was on day release. Yes, It Is by the Beatles was playing. If you wear red tonight, remember what I said tonight. For red is the color that my baby wore. And we had a lurch and a great wear. I always wore red to Barton's after that. Told me the job lined up in a butcher shop in Moore Street. My mother invited him out to Sunday tea, and he arrived with this huge parcel under his arm. There you go, Mrs. C, dropping it into our lap. Wrapped in sheets of white paper, there must have been at least 6 pounds of sausages, big lumps of black and white pudding, about 10 pork chops, and a bone for the dog. We didn't even have a dog. He walked out on me in 1992 for Bella Murphy and her bouncing breasts. They have a house in Spain with the dog and big fuck-off gates. I'm better off on my own. I always think it's worse on your family watching you go through all this. My daughter said to me, Mum, don't worry. I'm not worried, I said to her. Now, Dora O'Driscoll, she lives down the end of our road. She lost every bit of hair she ever possessed after the chemo. The majority of it grew back better and stronger, except for... She said she didn't mind. saved her having to go for the Brazilian and the like. I'd never shave down there again. I was sorry I let me pal Nora Ryan talk me into it. Soon as my father left for his sodality meeting, I borrowed his Wilkinson sword razor. The one with the swivel head. 5 stitches and 12 hours in A&E. Told the doctor I was a ballet dancer. Now my Roddy had lovely hair. The colour of burnt orange. I don't know what has me thinking about him now. But I know I'd give anything to see him walk in that door. Roddy wasn't the only man in my life. But he was the only one I ever wanted.
Risha Rooney.
That was Dr. Feelgood. I can't believe what he just told me. Mrs. Rooney, we have removed a small tumour from your breast, and good news, it's benign. I couldn't answer him. Are you okay? He said. But I was so sure. A good outcome. He smiled. He looked so happy. When he said those words to me, my whole life flashed before my eyes. Me mother, me kids, Roddy's face, nothing. Nothing could have prepared me for the joy I felt. I do care. I get to keep them. Both of them. I'm heading for Dollymount. Hey, you'll be able to fly over me shoulders now. You were listening after all, God. God of breasts.
Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more. Oh, woman, don't treat me so mean. You're the meanest old woman that I've ever seen. I guess if you say so, I have to pack my things and go. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more. Now, baby, listen, baby, don't you treat me this way, 'cause I'll be back on my feet someday. Don't care if you do, 'cause it's understood. You ain't got no money, you ain't no good. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back